Jack, where'd you go? Did you just... Jack, did you learn flying and fly the wrong way?
Is he circling? Is that him there? I can see somebody. I can see, it smells like cheese. I can see something circling Oribos. Is that Jack?
I mean, it might be. I don't know, but it's so black around Oribos. I don't know. Is that black cheese? Really weird.
I don't know. Oh, well. I'll cover for Jack this week. It's all good.
Yeah, we lost him, but we'll figure it out.
And then...
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Auction House Podcast. We're coming back at the episode 27. It's a pretty interesting episode. We're missing Jack. He's off actually just for a work trip this weekend, so that's why he's not here.
We lost him to the void. He's stuck in a rift or something. Surely we don't know.
Yeah, and as in
Welcome,
rift, maybe just the restroom. He's stuck on the toilet forever.
Wasn't that like one of the biggest nightmares as a kid? You'd like fall into the toilet. Was that just me?
Yeah, I mean that is.
Welcome everybody. By the way, sorry. Yeah. Hello.
Welcome in everybody. We have yet another episode here. It's we're getting up there in the episode numbers. It's pretty interesting actually.
You boys are hitting dizzy heights. You were on some fancy podcasts as well. You were being interviewed even.
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't even I've told Jack many times that I did not even expect it to go this long. So here we are. We're trying to figure out what what this is and how we continue it. It's interesting. But yeah, this week we have Manthieus on again as a co-host, and this time it's just me instead of Jack. It's basically the same thing as we had a couple weeks ago.
I'm almost a regular. I feel honored. Welcome back. It feels like my second home.
You turned into a seasoned regular.
Hey, it's all good. I'm happy to do it. You guys have got a good podcast going. So.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go into everything that we're going to talk about, Jack always wants to make sure that we tell everybody where we can, or where you guys can find us. And obviously, one of those places is our very own website that we now have updated a lot. Actually, we have all the links and all the possible ways of listening to the podcast. You're going to be able to find that on the website at auctionhousepodcast.com. It's very simple. And otherwise, you're going to look for the Twitter, which is the _podcast. And now, since Manthieus is on here as well, if you search up Manthieus pretty much anywhere, you will find all of his socials.
Yeah, just Google me. I got the SEO sorted. It's all good.
The SEO is sorted, bruv.
Yeah, man.
That's great. Hey, before we jump in,
apart from OnlyFans,
that's true.
Don't believe the rumors.
Well, I mean, I've always been an advocate for making sure that you have your name on everything, even though it might seem like you're actually trying to create content anywhere, just so people don't misuse your name.
Well, that might actually be very, very clever. Yeah, Anybody listening to this, please do not register OnlyFans.
Yeah,
.com/Manthieus.
No. I mean, it'd be very interesting. No. But before
there's some long boy jokes in there somewhere.
I'm sure. I mean, there's probably some No, let's not.
Stay on track. Stay on track.
Manthieus, how was your week? How have you been enjoying the first raid reset, actually?
Well, I mean, I know this is probably going to go out maybe Saturday. It's Thursday as we record this.
Yes.
I've not actually set foot in the raid yet. I might go poke my nose around, have a little look, but I'm going to be honest with you, the last day or two is all about legendaries for me.
Oh, yeah.
And, the rep grind, of course, but we can talk about that a little bit more later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lots of stuff, lots of stuff going on, keeping myself busy for sure. What have you been up to, Zan?
I mean, it's been an interesting week for me because I dropped off Evelyn at the airport Tuesday. So I've been in a kind of weird headspace the last couple of days, but I've had fun with the raid coming out because all the new content that we could get into. I fully completed the campaign, not fully completed the entire campaign, but got to Renown 44 and did the new campaign quest and got the Tome of Origins, the Vestige of Origins, obviously.
Yes.
I got that on 3 characters yesterday. which would be Wednesday, obviously, because we're recording this on a Thursday. So that was a lot. That was a lot.
Yep, I did 3 characters one day as well. Now I know there's, if you've got any Mythic boys out there listening, any hardcore raiders, doing Korthite on 3 characters is probably easy game. But
yeah,
especially for the most part, doing it in lowly geared characters was a little bit painful.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was mostly okay. It wasn't too bad, but it's great that it's done, because now I have all 4 legendaries or legendary professions to be ready to craft whatever I want, which is great. There are still obviously some pieces that I'm missing, but I have mostly everything, which is great.
How do you not have all of the ranks by now? Really?
Well,
come on.
The reason I don't is because
with your millions and millions of gold caps.
Well, the reason is I got into like upping my legendary game very late, and I was focusing on not only legendaries but also a lot of other markets, and I didn't want to just focus on legendaries, especially because of how, I don't know, I guess uncertain the market was going to be this patch. So.
Yeah, I think this patch is going to be a little bit different for legendaries.
But I mean, overall, I'm only missing, I think, like 7 pieces out of all of them. So I have pretty much everything. So
as long as the legendaries can be crafted for under a single token price, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Segue.
We're actually
into your tokens section.
That's really good, actually. That's a good segue. The quality right there. Obviously, we're going to talk about the token every single week we do it. It's great. We're going to talk about the European ones and then the US ones. I don't know if you want to take the US one. Do you want to?
I mean, there's not a lot to say about the US token. To be fair, I mean, it's gone up and down a couple of percent. I mean, it's floating at around as of time of recording this, at least. This might dip a little bit towards the weekend as more people get into it and start realizing that they're short on gold. But about 177,000 for a token over in the US right now. It's like I said, it's not gone up too much. It's not gone down too much. It's been relatively stable. The same cannot be said for the EU, I believe.
No, I mean, it's we were seeing, before Wednesday, before the reset came out, we were seeing the token being pretty high. We were seeing it, at 260, 270, around those. But right now I'm looking at the token and it says 246K to me. And it even reached a low yesterday, or maybe even today, like super late or super early in the morning. At 241K.
Whoa, okay.
So
it's going down.
It's definitely going down, and it's something that we've been talking about for weeks. Obviously, with the rate coming out, that people were going to need gold, and we're seeing with the current legendary prices. I'm sure that you have probably had a couple rank 5 and rank 6 sales by now. I've certainly.
I've been selling a couple of them. I mean, I'm in a really lucky position. Without tooting my own horn, but I mean, I now have every single rank 5 and 6 listed on the auction house. So it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Some of it sticks.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's obviously how it goes, but it's crazy because both of my own sales and screenshots from other people, I've seen rank 5 and 6 legendaries selling for anywhere from 200K to all the way up to 800K. So
I saw somebody sent me a couple of screenshots yesterday of 1 million gold Shadowgast ring sales. They were quite impressive.
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how anybody would pay 1 million gold for something that they can't even craft yet. It's
more gold is required.
Any Oilers in chat? Any whales?
any World of Warcraft Oilers in chat? Oh Jesus! But yeah, I mean, the token is currently on a downwards trend. And I honestly just see it continuing to fall. Like there's not any reason that it all of a sudden should pick up and go up again until next month, where the Hearthstone expansion comes out.
Yeah, there's not anything I think that's going to draw people to cash out their gold right now. But it's spend season. Your potions, your flasks, obviously your legendaries, enchanting. There's not so many BOEs kicking about this time, but I still would imagine that if you want them, they're going to be expensive. We've seen a few hit the auction house already since reset.
Yeah. It seems from it seems from the people that have been trying to farm the BOEs so far that the actual drop rate is lower than it's been past patches. Now I don't know if that's actually true or it's just because people can't smash through the trash as fast. That might also just
9.0
be it.
was a little bit broken for drop rates, though. Even Blizzard said it was a little bit too much.
Little too crazy. So we're currently sitting here with new BOEs as well. So we'll see how they do as well. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting time. Definitely with Mythic coming out next week. Before we jump further into talking more about all these markets, usually we have the weekly segment where we talk about a couple of markets. And the last couple of weeks, it's been kind of the same because we've been talking about Korthite crystals and the markets that are going to be impacted by the raid releasing. Okay. And that's the same thing that's going to pretty much happen this week because that's the most important stuff. That's where all the gold is.
Very true.
And something that we could talk about before we hop into the main part of the podcast after we talked about news is we could talk about what happened to Korthite crystals and what's going on currently.
Oh, I mean, there's for sure a lot to say about that, but B, there's plenty of markets to talk about right now, especially with the big flying is going to have its effect.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that change how we're going to make gold, which is good. I mean, it's something that happens every single expansion when we either get flying or a new raid releases on a new patch. It's interesting times. It's definitely something that people should be on top of if they want to get good at making gold. Absolutely.
Indeed. Pick a
and we have for Korthite crystals.
Pick a material then. Pick a material, dude. Let's break down a material for our listeners here. Let's work out whether it's going up, whether it's going down, and break it down.
I think we should talk about Korthite crystals first, and then we can move on to other things.
Korthite crystals, it is. Let's go. I can talk about them for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we can continue talking about them forever because they're here to stay. It seems. It's an interesting one because people still they're around to craft their rank 5 legendaries pretty soon, and we have this kind of it's not limbo, but we have a time in
there's
in
a
the
calm
patch
before
where
the
we're
storm.
looking at because currently with how much how many soul cinders people are getting, it looks like people are getting their rank 6 legendaries quicker than expected.
Late week 3 is what it appears to be, which is a bit of a surprise, as you would have assumed Blizzard would have pushed it till sort of the 4th week relay. But
pushed it a little further, but then they made soul cinder missions and some other things, which is, it's interesting, but it also just puts the rank 5 in kind of a weird spot because it's not like, unless you're on a server where a lot of people are raiding, doing high-end Mythic Plus or raiding content PvP, you're not going to have that many people that are willing to spend as much as the rank 5 costs on the actual rank 5. They're just going to wait until they can get the rank 6.
Yeah, with only a week's difference, it could be a bit odd. If we'd have got rank 5 craftable in week 2 and then rank 6 in week 4, it would have been reasonable to suggest that people might have bought the rank 5 and then buy the rank 6. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think the biggest thing about the Korthite crystals, specifically as a market, is, at least in my opinion, there's just not enough of them to go about.
There's not.
The amount of them that people can get. I obviously, people tell me all day long how many they've got, and more importantly, how many they haven't got. Somebody, for example, is running 8 characters through Korthia pretty much every single day and is still only got like 60 crystals in total. It's unless you're funneling everything from your alt to your main character to be quote unquote self-sufficient, you're going to have to, there's just not enough of them to go about. It's real simple. And at the moment, it's weird, right? Because there looks like there's loads of them. It looks like, there'll be no problem. There's a flood of these things. That's because nobody's buying them. There's only 3 people on your realm that's buying them, and that's the hardcore crafters.
And then again, right? If you look on a server and you say, "Oh, there's a couple thousand on here," it's not that many Korthite crystals because you spent. Like, let's say, at the peak of yesterday, I saw 6,000 crystals on Terran Mill, right? But in reality, that's only 150 legendaries. And 150 legendaries is something a couple people could sell in a day. Literally. In an evening on a reset for the current patch, that could be gone just in one day.
Yep, indeed, yeah.
So it's not something that's going to last a very long time. Obviously, the sales aren't the fastest that they can be right now because people can't craft their legendaries yet. But man, when the legendaries they kick off, good God, I can't even begin to imagine how. I feel like the moment that we can craft rank 5s, or people can start crafting their rank 5s with soul cinders, I imagine that the Korthite crystals are going to be
hoovered up.
They're going to be gone. Literally, they're just going to be gone.
Vacuum will come out,
and it's crazy because they already went up in price, obviously, because people can craft them for the professions now and have the base legendaries. But good God, I can't even begin to imagine what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting for sure, and very important to follow, of course. And I mean, the other like kind of interesting thing is a lot of people are thinking that Blizzard might up the amount of Korthite crystals that we're going to get.
They sort of have. In a weird fashion, they already did. In a very passive way, in terms of what a couple of the things that we've already seen since patch 9.1 go live was that the treasures out in Korthia spawn. Firstly, they spawn a lot more frequently. And secondly, especially those stupid mushrooms that you have to. If you're not a demon hunter, you want to smash your keyboard every time you see one. The treasures, they're now multi-tap. The mushrooms for the first few days, for example, weren't even multi-tap. The first person that gets there,
and the treasures were hard to get.
Despawns and everybody else is fuming. So in a way, they've kind of passively increased. They've not physically made it so that there's more in the game, but what they have done is allowed people to get them a bit easier and a bit quicker, which will incentivize people to do it on multiple characters. But it still doesn't solve the problem. It still doesn't solve the problem if you funnel all of your Korthite crystals to your main character. What happens when your alt wants a legendary?
Oh, yeah. And it's crazy, right? Because I've been talking to a couple of the raiders that I know that play on my server currently, and they're all, if they've been doing absolutely everything that they can, they've been grinding, doing all the torments, all the assaults, all the treasures, rares, everything that they absolutely can. They're sitting on one character, right? They're sitting on 20 crystals, 25 crystals at the max a weekend.
Yep.
Right? Which is, I mean, that's what the bonus of what you get for actually getting to Korthia content. And that's insane, You don't even have enough for your own legendary yet, right? And if you're a hardcore raider, you're probably gonna want a couple more than one.
Well, your soul cinders are obviously going to be the primary bottleneck. But yeah, you are right. There are people out there that won't be content with just the one legendary. Obviously, the time gating doesn't seem to be quite as gross as it was in 9.0 with Soul Ash. But the raiders out there, it's still true to say. The big thing, right, is raiders are relatively known for not just preparing one character. They prepare 2 or 3 characters, and for them to be able to do that means they can't funnel all of their crystals from one character to their main because they all need the legendaries. Which is it's going to be a bit of a the fun will happen when we have the next reset because the auction house will just get cleaned. And when the auction house gets cleaned and everybody scrabbles around to find these crystals, guess what happens to them? They double, they triple, they quadruple in price.
They go crazy. It's going to be very interesting to see. I'm very excited for Mythic coming out next week. It's always fun when new patches is out and seeing the Mythic raid release. Also, it's just because there's so much going on, right? Everything sells at insane numbers, and there's so many things going on all the time, and it's just great. It's literally just great.
The race to world first is a fun event to keep up with for sure.
Oh yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
now we're pew-pewing Sylvanas and we're going to steal our bow. That's excellent.
Yeah, and her mountain bow, basically her entire life.
Well, as a hunter main, I that's my big incentive to get in there because I need that bow.
It's very understandable. It's a coolest bow. It's cool. So it's pretty simple to like be incentivized to get that, I guess.
Any other markets that we should talk about for the listeners though, Zan? What are we thinking about how Korthia has affected some of the other material markets? I'm gonna throw one out there real quick. The meat and the heavy callus hide markets.
Oh yeah. That's definitely an interesting one because it's quickly impacted by 2x4s.
Very true. And like one thing that people have been snoozing on a little bit is the daily quests. In the daily hubs.
Yes, also daily
some
quests.
Of the daily quests. I haven't actually got the game open now. I can't remember, but to the western side of Korthia, there's all the bears, all the bear dog things, whatever they are. Frequently, 2 or 3 times last week, there was a world quest to go and kill those things. Skinners were running around having a field day. They were having an absolute blast because they didn't even need to kill anything. Skinning is one of those professions, as you all know, that the more gear you have, the quicker you can kill things. And if you can trigger a hyper spawn, then you're absolutely laughing. But people didn't even need to be geared last week. They could bring a fresh skinner, just wait for people to kill everything. Such a small percentage of the people who were doing the daily quest were skinners meant that they could just run over and skin the mob. GG, well played. Yeah,
suck it up.
But have you seen the price, and not necessarily the price of heavy callus hide, but the supply, what it's done? It's outrageous.
It's it's been
almost
crazy.
Like there's bots again,
Yeah, it really is. But it's in reality, it's just because there's so many people playing at the moment. And I think it's also something that also impacts the market.
Do we think it's that there was no real content yet? I mean, obviously Korthia was the content for the first week. We didn't have the new dungeon, we didn't have the new raid. People were waiting on the new PvP season. There was every incentive for every type of player to be in Korthia, which obviously did crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because we're looking at something that's completely new, and something that I also think impacts it quite a lot is the fact that we are looking at a patch where a lot of people follow absolutely everything from other people. So you have a bunch of people talking about a best in slot list for legendaries, and something we've obviously seen is that for leather specifically, for leatherworking. There's not as many best in slot pieces in the profession.
Tanks, I think, still want their unbehide legs, but for the most part, a lot of them are switching to the cape or the ring, or
exactly. And we sit there thinking, okay, so what are we gonna do with this market? Like, well, what's gonna happen, right? And then we all of a sudden we have a crazy influx of supply. And then we're sitting ducks, right? We're just sitting here thinking, okay, well,
Korthia will be dead in a week. Just hoover it all up.
Yeah,
hoover it all up now. Put it in a guild bank. Worry about it next week.
Honestly, I think that. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that when Mythic comes around, I think it's gonna definitely a lot of markets are gonna take off quite a bit. But it's an interesting one, right? It's a very interesting one because this time people have had so much time to prepare for the patch, and people are following like very specific strategies and rules that they applied to themselves and how they wanted to make gold. So
we live in a bubble, though. You got to remember this. Like, as gold,
yeah, we do.
I mean, most micro communities in World of Warcraft also live in their own bubble, but gold makers especially live in a bubble. you got to remember, I've come across two very distinct types of players in the last in the last week since 9.1 has launched. You've got the players that have been consistently playing the game for the last 8 months and are absolutely prepared for every eventuality. I mean, you could drop a nuclear holocaust tomorrow and these guys would be absolutely fine with it because they're fully prepared. Yeah. You've also got the people who have not played the game for 6 months. Quite genuinely, they played until, I don't know, maybe halfway through January and was like, nah, screw this, I'm done. And they're just coming back to the game now. And those people have no clue what the markets have been doing, what the value of things have been. And it's not their fault, of course, but it's there's so many people that don't know even the beginning. Some people hadn't even got their head around Season 1 legendaries and how to craft them. Now that you got to mess about with Vestige of what are these things? It's madness.
What are these new things?
The whispers that you'll get when you start posting your legendaries for 500,000 gold, and they're like, "Oh, you'll never sell it for that much." And then you tell them there's at least 300,000 gold of materials in there. They're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, they're going to be like, "What? Who? What? How does that make any sense?" But I mean, it's all over the place, right? And we have an interesting case because right now, something we've seen as well is that rank 3 and rank 4 legendaries are selling like hotcakes.
Oh, they're flying
off the shelves. And it's crazy, right? Because it's at increased prices too. It's so great. They're selling for so much and they're selling so often.
My rank 3 legendaries currently are literally double the price they were a couple of weeks ago. Not only are they double the price, they're also selling. And it's got to do with the fact that the first rank 5s and 6s are hitting the auction house, and even a rank 4 Shadowgast ring at 75,000-80,000 gold looks very attractive against the next rank at 500,000, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then you're sitting at a point being like, okay, well, I want to test out this new legendary power, or I just want to have this new legendary power before I can use the rank 5 because I can't craft it yet.
Rank 4s, I think, will become the new rank 1s. People did that in 9.0 with rank 1s because you could basically pick them up for free. And obviously you were somewhat time-gated on Soul Ash. But in patch 9.1, Soul Ash is not a thing. Like, you can just grind Torghast for an hour or two, get your Soul Ash and just bang out a rank 4 with very little effort.
Oh yeah. And then you're sitting there with your new legendary power being all happy, and then you're like, okay, well, do I want to spend a couple 100,000, a token or two on my legendary that I can't craft yet? I don't know. So, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. So it's, I mean, obviously the raid is impacting a lot of different markets besides the leather and everything. And I think before we talk about more, there's some other interesting things that we talked very shortly about. And as in for news, there's not that many things going on right now. Blizzard has put out a couple hot fixes for a lot of things. Obviously, we've gotten updates to Korthite. We talked about it a little bit. The fact that treasures and other collectibles just are there a little longer, so everybody has a chance to get them, so they don't despawn in front of your face.
1 round Korthite, 20 minutes, kill 70% of the rares, and you're done for the day. It's a lot more manageable, especially if you're doing it on alts.
Yeah, definitely. And then additionally, the thing we talked about with Soul Cinders being a little easier to get than expected, obviously we've included Soul Cinder missions.
Yes.
Now, something that I think is interesting is the fact that the amount that people get from these missions is random.
Yeah. And I guess something that will intrigue our listeners greatly, considering the nature of this podcast, is the mission table venture plan add-on. I guess we should talk about the fact that the guy who creates the venture plan add-on is taking himself a holiday. So going forward, at least until he decides to come back, venture plan will not work in patch 9.1. So we're going to have to either work out exactly how that mission table works properly, or somebody with some coding experience needs to take the reins, I think.
Yeah, but it did make it onto Curse Forge on Overwolf. which is good. So people can get it a little easier, so they don't have to go to another website. I mean, it's always good to get it, over to all the other.
I don't understand why it wasn't on CurseForge in the first place. I mean, it seems madness.
Yeah,
to not put it on
I don't
there,
either. Yeah, but now it is, so that's good. And the other very big important thing that a lot of people just figured out as the raid came out is that the fact that the Tome of Origins does not require you to be honored. If you have all your legendaries leveled up in your professions, if you have it already, if you completed enough for the quest line, you get the Tome of Origins by completing the campaign from Renown 44, obviously going to 45. You get it as a quest completion thing.
You do indeed. I don't want to say I told you so, not to you personally, but
no. I mean, that's what it seemed like. It's just the fact that they don't remove the whole thing from the Unlearn tab was really interesting.
The biggest problem is that the Unlearn tab was very misleading. Those that actually thoroughly tested it on the PTR worked out exactly how it worked. But the problem is that I don't want to dump on Wowhead because they're incredibly good at what they are and what they do. But the issue is they don't report so much through testing. They report on data mining for the most part. Now, obviously, when you data mine the fact that the Unlearn tab says that you need to be honored, then, well, guess what ends up in their articles that you need to be honored. But
that has to be there.
You could complete the campaign on the PTR and it gave you the quest reward. There was no reason to believe that Blizzard would change it any otherwise. But the reason it's on the vendor is very simple. It's a backup plan, right? So imagine that you're a fresh level 60 and you're working through the campaign, and then you decide that you want to pick up the legendary crafting because it's a bit of a cash cow. If you've already completed that quest, it's a way for you to go and buy it from the vendor. If you've already completed the quest, it's the Unlearned tab should probably have a big fat or in between the two. Complete this quest or go and buy it from the vendor. But what are you gonna do?
It's a little small thing, but the good thing is it motivated a lot of people to do content that they would have to do anyway to get a bunch of other cool things. So it worked out in the end.
Well, Crafters Mark III still turns up honored, so there's plenty to do when you get your rep up.
And then you got the contract that
if you're a scribe, you get the contract when you hit revered or whatever. I would imagine people will actually get revered relatively quickly.
Yeah, I think so as well. With the increase of content that we're going to be able to do campaigns and daily quests and whatnot.
You may have noticed that there's a 4th daily quest now in Korthite. Once you've completed the sigil chapter, I can't remember its full name, but it unlocks a 4th daily quest. So there's an extra big chunk of, well, not a huge chunk, but it all adds up eventually. So I think we'll start to see people getting revered relatively quickly. The contracts will hit the auction house. And of course, when you get the contracts, it's a nice little catch up for everybody else and a nice little money maker for the scribes out there.
Yeah, obviously. And then the last thing that we've been talking about this entire time is the fact that next week we have the Mythic Week raid release coming up and the World First Race. It's always an exciting time to follow the World First race, at least in my opinion, and also it seems to be your opinion as well. I enjoy watching it a lot. It's super fun times, and besides that being fun times, it's the Mythic Raid release, which a lot of gold makers love because it's great for absolutely every single market that exists.
What's your top 3 markets for when a raid comes out?
Well, usually for the last many patches and expansions, I've been on enchanting and jewel crafting, and then I've been on food.
Yes, they're very good. One thing that is an absolute cash cow, if you get in on it, is alchemy. It's one thing that if you go the alchemy route, it can be very, very profitable, but it's super, it just takes forever, right? It takes a lot of your time out of your day. Crafting thousands and thousands of potions. Your dude can't do much else in the game when you're crafting potions. I think the quick maths is about 1,800 is the theoretical maximum amount of potions you can make in an hour. Realistically, you're not making more than 1,500 though. Now, on a raid night, if you're on a reasonably good server, you'll sell those 1,500 potions in 10 minutes flat. So you got to do that planning early on in the week, I think, for alchemy. But if you do it, if you get your herbs nice and cheap, if you've planned ahead of the game, craft some potions up, craft your flasks up, alchemy just by itself without anything else can be very, very powerful, I think.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And alchemy is, of course, one of the very good ones as well. I personally have always kind of just not been too heavy into alchemy. I've been doing it, obviously, here and there, but I've never gone super into it. And the reason really is just because the last many years of me being interested in gold making, it's almost one of the, like, every single time the new content is out, it's almost the first profession that anybody talks about.
It's really good. It's really good for people stepping into gold making, though, because
I think so as well.
It's hard to go too wrong with alchemy, mainly since that, especially when you look at potions. Now, of course, the average price of a potion seems to go up every single expansion. I don't know why. They were 20 gold a piece not too long ago. Now we're looking at like hundreds of gold a piece for just a potion, which is a madness. But it's a good market to step into. You can start small, but you can scale it really quickly.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that kept me away from focusing on it as a main thing is because of the server that I play on, and also because there's just so much competition compared to all the other ones.
Yes.
For me personally, in enchanting and something like cooking, there's definitely competition. I mean, bags, there's no competition at all. I seem to be the only one creating bags anymore in Terran Mill.
GG.
It's pretty insane because especially on deep sea bags, it's almost only me all the time, which is really great because I sell hundreds of bags every day.
I might have to fix that.
Yeah, you might. You could try.
No, my adventures over there are pretty limited at the moment. I'm focusing on my home realm until I've recuperated some of the cost from prepping for 9-1, but I'll be back.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's insane stuff. I looked at how I looked at how much I'd posted on my auction house the other day because I was wondering, like, okay, well, all this gold I've been spending, where is it?
Where's it gone?
Where was it gone? Where is it? And when I had crafted everything and posted everything, I looked at almost 50 million posted auction house value. So I was like,
that's
okay,
where it's gone. Yeah, okay,
there it is. There, I was pretty happy looking at that number. So we'll see how it goes. There's
people who farm transmog for 2 years that don't even have 50 million gold worth of stuff on the auction house.
Yeah, I mean, I should know, right? Because I mean, the thing is for me, I've also definitely farmed a lot of transmog, but if you want gold, you can't farm transmog unless you literally farm 12 to 16 hours every day and you farm absolutely everything in the game. You're not going to make a lot of gold on transmog. That's not where the
I consider transmog as playing the lottery, right? It's something it's never going to make you rich. It's never a guaranteed get rich quick scheme. But sometimes you'll hit the jackpot and you'll find something or you'll sell something for crazy amounts, which is then consider it nice bonus gold, but your bread and butter should be in other things.
Yeah, I've always had it as a what would you call it, like a secondary revenue thing, right? You have it as a secondary gold making opportunity. Well,
surely if you run 10,000 SM runs, then I imagine you end up with quite a lot of transmog.
yeah. But I mean, if you run 10,000 SM runs, you're also using 30 minutes or 25 minutes for 10 runs.
Yeah,
right.
It's a big time sink.
Like the time sink is insane, right? And it's also that's additional to that. You also want to think about how much time you spend on making a character that works and everything. So it's crazy, right? And then there's the whole selling all the items. So it's insane.
Yeah, transmog's a really good side gig, I think. Side gig, but
Yeah. But hey, it is what it is. It still works. There's a lot of good things about it, especially in slow periods of of current content patches. So it's always something that needs to be mentioned as an opportunity. But yeah, it's
talking of transmog, just as a nice secondary little segue. There's some fancy new shoulder epic BOE cosmetic items that are starting to appear. I did a little video on them the other day. I'm always super cautious with my YouTube videos not to sort of 1 million gold for a BOE. I try to keep it somewhat down to earth. I would be very interested to see the prices of these on people's realms, mainly because they actually appear to be really quite rare.
Yeah.
And weirdly, a lot of people didn't realize that some of them that you pick up are bind on pickup, yet some of them are bind on equip. And I think that's caused a few people to have to scrabble through the Blizzard item restoration just to check that they've not like vended any of the BOE ones.
Then there's some random thing that they didn't want to
yeah, but I mean, you get them occasionally from some of the more sworn chests. Some of the rares out in Korthite will also drop these cosmetic shoulders. And I would imagine based on their rarity, if nothing else, they'll be relatively good little learners. They're going to be hard to farm for, but might be a good flipping opportunity on the auction house.
Cool. I mean, just in a sense, they're awesome. I like that they're moving into an area of giving us more cosmetic transmog from the game, right?
Yeah, moving away from, this piece of gear also being transmog, I think is a sensible path to go down. Like make something look really cool and just give it the cosmetic tag.
Yeah, and I like that you don't have to go into the raid, right? Or you won't get this if you don't enter the raid or whatever, right? You can do Torghast, Korthite, or whatever. You get a couple cool pieces just from doing all of that. I like that too.
Yeah. I'm not a big transmog dude myself for the most part, but I mean, I obviously like the gold it brings in.
I mean, I love transmogging my characters. Making them look all cool. I love it. It's great.
Give me a skull flame shield, and that's about it. That's about as far as my transmog goes. Shout out Hobbs.
If you really don't care too much about it, you can just get the replica from whatever dungeon it is in the Arkandun and Terraco Forest.
Oh, I've got the actual shield. It's fine.
Yeah. And people only care if they open up your character and it says the skull flame shield is transmogged.
It's all a big status symbol.
It really is. But again, going back to talking about the raid releasing, we have it's pretty much the same as we've always had, right? With raid releases coming out. If you want to make gold, you have to focus on consumables, and also if you want legendaries. But the cheaper option is consumables, right? It's enchants, it's flasks and potions, it's everything revolving around what raiders, Mythic Plus players, and PvPers additionally also need. So, I mean, it's where the gold is.
Main advantage about the consumables is, I mean, the fact that you're not just going to sell something to that character once. They're going to go to that raid, they're going to smash their face against the keyboard, they're going to burn through their potions, and then they're going to come back the next day and buy more.
Yeah.
So, which is always really nice.
And especially with some of these things being as expensive as they are, there's not going to be a lot of people that buy a ton of them to have as a stock for a long time. They're going to buy a little bit and then use it, and then buy a little bit more and then use it, and then buy a little bit more. And this happens every single time that content is very new and things are super expensive. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. Absolutely. And if like you guys just have to be in on it. But besides the whole consumables, we have obviously new BOEs in the raid. So if you guys are interested in BOE farming, there's trash farms in the new raid as per usual. If you want to do 2x4s and Korthite, they also exist. Then it's very good if you want to farm a little bit of the research for the Archivist Codex.
Yes. Be careful though. There is a limit to if you're referring to the purple outlined dudes. There is a limit to how many that we worked this out the other day. There's a limit. You can only actually kill them 15 times a day and loot relics off them. So that's kind of squished the potential of 2x4 farming for the Archivist Codex specifically. But of course, there is also other juicy stuff to be had from Korthite.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good little addition to what you would be getting from a 2x4, so that's at least nice. And yeah, I mean, still, even though we don't need reputation to get the Vestige of Origins, if you guys already aren't doing everything you can, it's still very important to get the Crafter's Mark rank 3 for all your professions. And obviously, if you're interested in inscription, going for Revered as fast as possible. Because if you're one of the first people to be able to craft a contract for Depth's Advance, I mean, you're like, it's going to be very, 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 very profitable.
Indeed, yeah.
We've seen this time and time again.
Yes, especially since that the Death's Advance, weirdly, right, we expected the Archivist Codex to be the reputation that was more of a slow grind. We expected that to be like, oh, maybe you'll get 1 tier a week out of it. There's a couple of quests that are guaranteed rep, but outside of that, it's just, luck of the draw farming. But obviously, in World of Warcraft ways, people worked out how to cheese the absolute living Christ out of it and have managed to get to tier 4 literally within a few days, which is absolutely mental.
It's funny, right? Because people craft the 230 piece before the 200 high level pieces.
Yeah, 230 is hitting the auction house before what you would assume to be the basic stuff. Yeah,
it was funny.
Upside down.
I thought it was funny the way that worked out, but it is what it is. It's something that people have to worry about, obviously, if they want to. But yeah, I mean, we really just have to prepare for the Mythic Raid release. That's what we have to do. And if you guys aren't completely set in on the fact of how you can work your gold making into your advantage on times like these, you have to focus on the times where your specific server will be raiding or doing content, right? And usually you can say, okay, well, if you're in EU, that's Wednesday, probably Friday and Saturday. Those are the most often raiding days that people have. Now that might obviously change a little bit, and it's something that you can figure out the more you sell things in the auction house every day. And obviously for America, it's a little different because Tuesday. But
I mean, I kind of think while I entirely agree with all of that, the biggest trick to making some sizable gold from the raid is less worrying about when people are going to buy your potions or flasks or that sort of stuff, and it's give yourself that market advantage. Keep your eyes if you're going to be dealing with, I don't know, enchants, for example. Keep your eyes on the prices of your soul dust and your sacred shards throughout the week so that you understand what day is actually a good day to buy them. Because we hear these horror stories every patch of that somebody goes to the auction house and they looks at the prices and everything appears to be quote unquote under crafting cost. Well, it is if you buy the materials the same day as you try and sell the stuff. But 2 days ago, you could have got those same materials for half the price. That's exactly the real trick to the game.
And it's really interesting to think about that, actually, because something I've seen a lot in my community especially is that people are saying, looking at the jewel crafting legendaries, the ring and the neck, they're already super low in value in the amount that they sell for, the rank 5 and 6s. And funnily enough, it's one of those things where we've had so long to prepare for this patch. We've known what materials we're going to use in the legendaries. And I already invested in essences 2 months ago, right? And
I went a similar route. I didn't buy the essences, but I have guild banks full of ore right now.
Yeah, but I got every single essence. I got them for 20 to 50 gold, right? And now they're hundreds of gold. The Torment and Rebirth are just around 1,000 gold, right? And you sit in a position like that, and then you look at the rank 5 and 6 legendaries, and you're like, oh my God, I'm making absolute metric shit tons of gold on making these legendaries at rank 5 and 6 and selling them for 150, 160, or 170k, right? It's great. The only thing I have to get is the Korthite crystals, and it's a done deal. But then other people look at the current prices for torments, and they're like, oh God, this is close to not even being profitable at all, right?
Yeah,
and they don't understand any of it,
issue.
And that's like kind of one of the things again where people you have to prepare for something like this, right? You have to be prepared in terms of of investing early, because otherwise you're going to be looking at the markets and saying, like you said just before, oh, this is, why is everything under crafting cost?
It comes with experience, though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, we're both in an advantage where we've played the game for so long that we've seen not only expansion cycles but patch cycles multiple times over.
Yeah.
For new people to the game, new people to goal making especially, it's understandable why people sort of don't foresee these things. But utilize your time now. If you feel like you might have missed an opportunity this patch, take whatever it was that you think you missed and don't miss it next patch. We are still going to have a 9.2. Hopefully there'll be a 9.3, and especially with things like legendaries are here to stay.
Yeah.
It's been blatantly obvious. I mean, people are still only being able to use one legendary, for example. One of the first questions was, when can we use 2 legendaries? I wouldn't be surprised to see that coming in the future. Don't get too disheartened. I mean, if you feel like you've missed the boat, then still, craft 1 or 2, sell them. Don't feel the need you have to power level. The gold will come eventually.
Yeah, and it's also important to realize that even though you might have missed the first couple of days of the patch and the hype, you're gonna make so much gold if you continue making. Like, if you continue now trying as hard as you can, making gold for the next couple of weeks, you're gonna make a ton of gold. It's the same thing at the start of an expansion where a lot of people are like, oh, I can't make hundreds of thousands of gold every day anymore, so now I don't want to play anymore. It's
when you're rolling around like Scrooge McDuck in all your gold, it's fine to say that. It's okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just that there's still tons of gold to be made, right? And I think something that lacks in a lot of people currently with gold making, a lot of newer gold makers, is patience. They're not very patient, right? I feel like the panic button gets clicked on a little too much.
It's got to do with risk, I think.
Yeah,
and it's usually, for me at least, it appears as if that people end up they'll buy some materials, they'll craft some stuff, and then they'll try and list it on the auction house for a few hours. And when it doesn't instantly sell, panic kicks in relatively quickly.
Yeah,
and this is where I try to, at least through my stream and through my videos, the one thing I try and instill is that don't worry too much about making stupid amounts of profit on stuff. Take it slowly and learn the supply and demand of things. Once you understand, firstly, well, who's going to buy this item, and then why do they want it? Are they going to buy it frequently, or are they just only ever going to buy it once? Where did the materials for this come from? Like, does somebody have to farm them? Does somebody have to kill a dungeon to get them? What's the situation?
Yeah, learn everything about it.
If you know both sides of the story, all of a sudden the risk sort of disappears, and you can go, oh, okay, so these Korthite crystals, well, we know that you can get, I don't know, maybe 10 of them a week on a character through some relatively casual play. Right, well, I guess then it's going to take 4 weeks for regular Joe to craft his own legendary. But, well, what if regular Joe, doesn't play the game every day and hasn't kept up with it? Well, then, okay, he's going to buy some off the auction house. Maybe I can, farm some, sell them, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Good old Khadgar. Do you ever think we're going to see him again?
I mean, he's too much of a lore figure for him to completely disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I think so as well. But
he's
I'm just wondering,
clown, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's going to be standing on Azeroth when the moment that the jailer supposedly escapes. We don't know the ending of the
jailer takes off his mask and it's just Khadgar.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, that would be
There's
interesting.
A plot twist.
Maybe Khadgar's a dreadlord.
Maybe.
That'd be insane. Anyway, guys, this is coming towards the end of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. A little more of a conversation talking about what's going on currently, and keeping you guys updated on everything gold making at the moment. It was good having you on again, Manthieus.
Thank you. It's always enjoyable. It's always enjoyable.
Yeah. Where can people find you again? Just again, so people
Where can people find me? Well, I'm pretty much all over the place nowadays. Twitch.tv/Manthieus is the first one I'll throw out there.
In the hot tub?
Not in the hot tub, although it's so warm in my house, it feels like I'm in a hot tub.
In the cold tub? Okay.
Ice packs are where, we won't say where the ice packs are right now. YouTube.com/Manthieus as well for the nearly daily uploads, keeping everything World of Warcraft related. And of course, we've got the Discord as well. If you want to jump in there and have some discussions, there's fountains of knowledge in the Discord, so check it out.
Absolutely.
Where can we find you, Zan?
Well, you can find me, everywhere. It's just at Sansible. You search up Sansible. You'll find me on Twitch. You'll find me on YouTube, Twitter, OnlyFans. But yeah,
more consistent with the YouTube uploads recently.
I've been trying. I've been a little. It's falling out of track the last week because I've had my girlfriend from America over to visit. So. Not much time to focus on much else than that, but we're gonna get back to it this week.
Well, so that's the raid's out this week. You've got another woman to slay.
That is factual information. That is, yeah. That's very true. And as for the podcast, guys, remember to give it 5-star ratings. Smash the like button. Click on the whatever button that makes sure that the podcast sounds great. I'm sure it is great as well. I think so, at least. I hope you guys think so as well. Anyways, guys.
Oh, by the way, if any of you knows where Jack is, can you know, I don't know, do we need to send out a search party?
I mean, I think we honestly might. If anybody knows where he is, we'd very much like to know his location because, we can't really...
somebody's got to edit this podcast.
Yeah, somebody has to. And it's not going to be us. So I guess we're hopefully... gonna find Jack in the next couple of days.
Nice one, dude. It was good to be on. Thank you.
Sir. Hey, that's gonna be it for this podcast, guys. See you on the next one, which is what we're gonna be talking about: crafting professions, alchemy, and enchanting. But until then, see you guys.
See ya.